I want to have this disclaimer. I suppose most of you have heard of DAOs, but before going on to explain any details about it, I want to make one thing absolutely clear. I'm not a Taoist. I'm not advocating Taoism. I'm not trying to convert anyone to it. I have nothing to sell. I am an entertainer. And of course, this was an Alan Watts quote with a little bit of creative license. Okay, with that, let's start the show. Okay, so I said I was going to be demystifying DAOs, but in fact, I think everybody's going to leave with more questions than answers tonight, which is okay. I think the most important thing in crypto or in life in general is to know who you are. So with that, who are you? So this is a funny cartoon. If you can't see it, it says, "On the internet, nobody knows you're a dog." So if anybody here has done anything online, if you're talking with somebody online, how do you know that that's that person? Especially if you're doing very large crypto casino games, aka DAOs with very large treasuries, you don't know who's on the other side of that transaction. So I think as we begin our DAO journey, I just kind of wanted to iterate. This all starts with the individual and the identity question, which hasn't really been solved. But we have some ideas on how we can orient ourselves within this crypto matrix. So this is Eleanor Ostrom, if anybody has heard of her. Anybody? Eleanor Ostrom? Okay. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize in economics, and she's kind of laid the groundwork for how we think about commons management. Traditionally, it's been commons mismanagement, which is what we have right now. So these are the principles. There's 8 of them. I think it could be helpful to kind of just go over them really quickly. But basically, there's clearly defined boundaries. There's harmony between appropriation roles and around local conditions. There's collective choice arrangements. There's monitoring, graduated sanctions. So if you need to go into timeout. Conflict resolution mechanisms, recognition of rights to organize nested enterprises. So this woman was doing, her and her husband were doing research around like water resources, especially in Central Valley, California, and kind of learning best practices around how to actually work within communities, groups, different stakeholders, and how to have a positive water outcome instead of the well runs dry and we're all dead. So it can seem like that in DeFi land when the liquidity runs dry. But I just wanted to go over some blockchain basics, because when we're thinking about DAOs, we kind of have to know how the plumbing works. So there's 2 types of accounts. This is mostly talking about Ethereum, but Ethereum's not the only smart contract platform that DAOs are running on, even though it is the most developed. So we have basically a externally owned account, which somebody holds the private keys to, and then from there you can create a whole bunch of tiny sub-wallets. So going back to that question of who are you really dealing with online, there's a lot of ways to create a lot of different identities online. And then the second part, which is kind of more interesting to what we're talking about tonight, is what's called a contract account. So Ethereum is a general purpose computer to run decentralized applications, and those applications are running smart contracts. So part of the value proposition for Ethereum is that you can run governance and financial applications on this decentralized computer. So when we're talking about DAOs, when we're talking about multi-sigs, what we're really talking about is contract accounts that can be created by wallets, or they can be created by other contract accounts themselves. So we have this like huge, super sexy code orgy where everybody's constantly pumping out baby DAOs. So with that, we can go into like before we get to DAOs, let's go to multi-sigs, because multi-sig is a simpler version. It's kind of like the building block. It's the embryo for a DAO. So multi-sig is a multi-signature wallet where the contract is basically, hey, we have either 2 of 3 people that need to sign this transaction, 5 of 8, whatever you want to decide. You can have up to 99 signers on a multi-sig, maybe even more, but I think like LLC limitations are like 99 members. So it's convenient. So you can open up a multi-sig with your friends. You want to do some DeFi together. You want to kind of get curious. You can use a multi-sig. Multi-sigs can also be kind of the treasury manager of DAOs. So this is just a kind of like a diagram of the different offerings. So if you want to go through it, you can, but Gnosis Safe is offering the most options with the most check marks, if that wasn't clear. But Gnosis Safe is just one. Anybody here currently in a multi-sig or in a, anybody? Okay, we got one guy, nice. What do you use, sir?
Unchained Capital.
Unchained Capital, okay. So you're, okay. I won't dox you. Okay, so we have a little bit of a grasp of a multi-sig. So this is the meat of it. DAOs, this is a spectrum, so you can, ideally we want to be working towards progressive decentralization, where there's more people participating, there is more equity, there's more ownership distributed among more people. There's also more nodes being run, there's more validators, there's more distribution. So decentralization is the bedrock for how this works. And I think that there was a lot of security holes right now in terms of like how centralized different chains are, especially like layer 2s. There was a Arbitrum. I don't know if anybody got caught up in that. No, okay. I'll talk by myself in the corner later about that. Okay, so going back to DAOs. Okay, we'll just go through so the autonomous part. Going back to knowing who you are, yes, you are an autonomous agent. You can be making decisions on your own with the best available information. But autonomy is also these smart contracts are executing based off of predetermined logic. So if there is an A action where maybe some funds get paid to the wallet address, and that says, okay, well, ship me some services, then that can execute an on-chain transaction. So that's where the autonomy kind of comes in. And you can have, like we just mentioned with the contract accounts, they're just out in the wild doing their own pre-programmed thing, and they can be interacting with your DAO. And then organization, I think this is probably the most critical part of any DAO, is that you have a community of people who are wanting to go to the same direction. If the community isn't cohesive, then your DAO is gonna split, or it's gonna be forked, or it's gonna be any type of cannibalized. So Olympus Dow is another kind of interesting use case. Anybody here on Olympus Dow? Ohmies? Okay, cool. Yeah, so they've their DAO's been wildly successful, and at the same time people have tried to fork the code, but you can't necessarily fork the community. So having a strong vision is, I think, the first step, and a strong need for the DAO is the first step in thinking about DAOs. So anyways, let's go through the kind of the workflows. You have somebody who has some interest in the DAO. Maybe they have a token. Maybe there is something that they want to have passed if it's a proposal. So you can use these governance tokens. There's a lot of communication on Discord or forums. So there's everything that's happening on chain. There's a whole world off chain that's kind of influencing it. So DAOs are definitely not susceptible. I'm sorry, they are susceptible to a lot of different attack vectors. So let's just put that out there, which is fun to think about. Because when you start working with DAOs, you realize, wow, there's a lot of ways this thing can go wrong. But actually, it goes well most of the time. So if you have enough votes to pass the proposal, it executes an on-chain transaction that either like updates the protocol or sends a payment from the treasury. And so this is basically if you have a organization, a company, and you have like the financial department with like 100 people on payroll. This could potentially reduce the need for a lot of paper pushing, but now everybody's working 24/7 online in the metaverse. So it's a price to pay. Okay, sorry. So these are the different, so like, this is a little blurry, but if you're starting up a DAO, there's a lot of different platforms you can launch a DAO. This is kind of like out-of-the-box tooling to like make it autonomous. So these are different agents, different functionalities, and because each functionality is its own smart contract, that contract account has its own Ethereum address. So you could send a transaction to the voting wallet, and that would execute an on-chain enacting of the proposal. So these are just kind of some of the building blocks. If you're familiar with DeFi, kind of like money Legos, these are governance Legos. All right, so if you have a DAO, what does that mean? It means that you have an on-chain entity, but do you have a legal representative off-chain? So it's getting easier and easier to legalize your DAO on-chain through these platforms. So it's a really slippery slope. One foot is out the door and the other foot's on a banana peel into a very digital, and I was talking with Kenny about this earlier, but I think we're maybe a couple years out where we're having more legal disputes settled on-chain than off-chain. So just where are we at in that cycle? So this is what I wanted to describe, where it gets kind of slippery with the procreation. You have a basic main DAO, and maybe the main DAO has the main treasury, and this is from the Lao. So Lao is the legal autonomous organization. So they were one of the first DAOs that said, hey, we want to be on chain, and we're like, we're legit. So the Lao, they basically do investments on chain. Anybody here familiar with the Lao? All right, I've been on the Netflix series. So the Lao has this like kind of pathway to creating different baby DAOs, because if you want to spin out a subsidiary, you can just have your main DAO execute an on-chain transaction to spin out a sub-DAO that's kind of like a template, but it has its own characteristics for if it has, you know, whatever need, whatever application that DAO is serving. So maybe you have a vertical and you need to spin out the bottling plant or the media wing. You can do that. So it's all DAOs all the way down forever. And so that's just kind of showing you kind of where we're at. And where it's going is that it's going to be very cheap and very effective to have a DAO organization in the not too distant future. And this is what we end up with. This is actually outdated. This is like last year. But you can see the different types of DAOs, DAO operating systems, investment DAOs, grants, collection DAOs for different NFTs. Anybody here follow the Constitution DAO debacle? Well, not a debacle. I mean, that was cool that they like went for it. But I'll just kind of I'll go over the Constitution DAO real quick, because basically there was Sotheby's auction house said, hey, we have an original Constitution on hand, and it's going up for auction. So so some people got wind of this and they said, hey, we got to buy the DAO because of freedom and whatever, like put it in a museum and we can make it an NFT. So they made this DAO, they got all this money in their in their treasury, and they made the bid, but the guy that eventually won the Constitution DAO, do you know who that was? He was the hedge fund Wall Street guy that got screwed over in the Wall Street Bets Robin Hood. So he took his revenge, and now he owns the Constitution. And Nick Cage was like a big meme. So once again, this is all meme driven. We're in a meme driven economy, and they have value because they are the most efficient way to transfer information. So we're going from like kind of this degen mindset where we're like just, I don't know what we're doing here in Web3, besides just circle casino. So degen to regen, degenerative finance. I mean, everybody knows degen, right? What is a degen? Degen is saying, I'm gonna go farm some yams on Sushi Swap. Okay, anybody claim SOS? Nice. What's the price at? Are you gonna, is it a tax write-off? Yeah, sell those airdrops at a loss. Okay, so the point of this is, if you have a DAO, that means you can make your own token. If you can make your own token, that means you can buy people off. But who are you really buying? So the SOS token and the gas token was basically taking these successful DAOs and say, oh, well, you spent a lot of money on gas fees this year. We're going to give you a gas token. But it was kind of it's a meaningless offering. There's been no community being built. So we're going from degen to regen. Regen is regenerative, so that means that the energy that we're putting into our relationships, into our businesses, it's actually improving the ecosystem. So our economy is actually helping and aligned with the ecosystem. Both ecosystem, outer landscape with like our rivers and our air quality, but also the inner landscape. Like, how do we feel? Are we happy like with what we're doing? Are we aligned? So Kura DAO is cool because they're Curacao, the island. They have their own DAO and they're managing their own stable Kura DAI, and they're using that to invest in local projects. Gitcoin, they are a public goods funding platform, so a lot of open source software projects can go on there. Gitcoin did an airdrop, so you can use those tokens to vote on different proposals. You can also delegate them. Klima DAO is cool because Klima DAO is basically creating a Olympus style like bonding staking mechanism and using that to buy a bunch of carbon credits and like drive the price up. And then what happens after that, nobody's really thought that through. And then Regen Network. Regen Network is basically a marketplace for eco credits. They're using multiple layers of data information and an open registry on the Cosmos Tendermint IBC ecosystem. So we're going to where we're using these financial systems, going back to the commons management, where we're actually like making things slightly better. And then I can, let's see what goes on here. Oh, nope. Well, Giveth, this is a really great example of how you can use DeFi building blocks with philanthropy, and definitely check out Giveth. I don't think we have enough time to go into it right now, but National Parks DAO, this is an example from a token engineering group called the Common Stack. So the Common Stack says, hey, if you want to create a token around your common pool, common utility, we have a platform that helps you design your token to manage that. So as an example, they came up with this National Parks DAO, and we were just discussing an opportunity here in Rincon where there's a community garden, and you know, we want to make the best use of that land and to really bring back vitality to it, and connecting the people, the community to their food source. So the National Parks DAO is a fun kind of example, but you can see where you can use a token to incentivize positive behavior, internalize externalities. So if there is like water pollution, or if there's land degradation, we can start to put some price tags on those projects, because we collectively value it as a community. So we're giving this NPT, National Park Token, value because of our awareness. So there you go. That's the big secret. So you can go read more on Common Stack. And then like managing a DAO, it's more like mismanagement, but you have a very flat organization. So you have different levels of people that interact with the DAO. And when we say DAO, we're really talking about any type of product, any type of project. Traditionally, it's been software, but we're going to be moving more into physical, tangible goods. So anybody that interacts with your product or service is going to be somewhere on the spectrum. And more than likely, there's going to be a pipeline to like get your power users into some type of like production job. So anyways, there's, you know, core team members, and it goes out from there to where you have the public who can actually, because the DAO is a much more fluid, a much more horizontal structure, you can be getting feedback directly to the teams that need it to then incorporate it and then send out the next iteration. And this is kind of the Dow Operations. Dow Operations is kind of where I like to geek out because it's it's like herding cats, and there is levels. Okay, so users, communities, contributors, team on the bottom, and there are multiple levels of digital communication channels right now. So this is like basically how a DAO operates, and I see you squinting because it is really, really hazy. Like it's really hard to figure out where the proposals are, where the support is, like who's doing what. So I think the next phase of DAO development is going to be around more insights, more analytics, more kind of project management tooling for DAOs. So I just wanted to show you that to give you a headache. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel. So we've launched the ETH PR DAO, and this is just kind of the dashboard of what your DAO could look like in this what's called a One Hive Garden. So we're using the One Hive Garden platform for our first DAO, and I think so the Dow Life Cycle. So you can create a DAO very easily, but what is it like for a DAO to die? It can be a peaceful process. So we're actually probably going to spin this DAO down, just like if you spin up a server, you can spin it down. Same thing with DAOs. This is like, you can spin it up, you can spin it down, and then it evolves into the next DAO. So we didn't get our parameters right on this one because we hadn't used the tool before. So, okay, I'll go into some of those parameters. So you can do 3 types of voting. You can do suggestion, which you're just kind of getting support. And you're using the internal, we have RICO, which is our governance token. So we have our governance token distributed to the members, and we can vote on different parameters. So suggestion is, would anybody like to do like meetings once a week? So that's a suggestion. We vote on that, and there's like sentiment. Then there's a funding proposal where it's like, hey, I hosted a meetup, can I get paid $100, whatever. And then there's decisions. So like, we need to make some fundamental change to our DAO parameters, our DAO bylaws, whatever it is. And each of these different proposals have different parameters on how much tokens you need to spend for it to pass, how much you need to pay to just propose it to, just to get a proposal out there. And this is just one platform. So there's like probably 4 or 5, maybe going to be 40 DAO platforms here in the next couple years. So we're learning hands-on. This is for the ETH PR DAO. I haven't really explained what that is. So ETH Puerto Rico, if anybody's familiar with like ETH Lisbon, anybody go ETH Lisbon? Anybody go to ETH Denver? Anybody? Okay, so when Ethereum started a couple years ago, basically meetups started happening around Ethereum to just get like some developer early kind of community support. So around the world, different cities, there's Ethereum meetup groups. So these meetup groups will host developer talks, they'll do education events, but now we're in the DAO land. We can do a lot more functionality with our organizations. So, for example, ETH Puerto Rico, we want to basically do an NFT membership fundraiser where we can work with an artist to do a fun NFT design, and then for token holders, they can get into the Discord because there's something called NFT gated Discord channels. But nobody's going to go to Discord, but NFTs are fun for collectibles. And then we can also be setting up legal entities. So that's like, we're basically using this as a low-risk experimentation vehicle. So if we want to set up an LLC, which is what we're probably going to do, there's also something called Open Law. So Open Law kind of has a plug-and-play DAO legal framework that you can kind of choose what bylaws you want to have for your DAO. We can be doing a lot of different services. If it's like, I was trying to get information on DAOs today for this presentation, like, man, there's like really not a lot to choose from. So there's a lot of companies out there that are like selling information like Masari or like some other different like business intelligence. So I think Puerto Rico has a really good opportunity to be learning a lot and to be sharing that information into the ecosystem. So there's definitely like a lot of opportunity, as well as consulting and design services. So if like everybody's going to have to make a DAO, everybody's going to be an LLC and a DAO at some point. So what do these like multinational companies do? So there's a lot of consulting and design services, staking and block production. So this is exciting. So if you want to have a DAO that pulls funds together to then stake, and then you're also yield farming your synthetic staking derivatives, and you're getting like 10% a year just on yield farming, and then you can vote as a DAO where you want to put that funding into different pro-social enterprises. So it's basically, you have like a company philanthropy that's like getting the liquidity pool transaction fees. And then yeah, incubator, like it would be awesome to see like how can this organization support local Web3 initiatives and teams, technical developers and talent. And then yeah, we need to get like some co-working space around the island because it's whatever, it's too hot out there. We need some type of thermal mass cooling. Anyways, what can we do in the future? Like if you're thinking you want to start a DAO, you have an idea, what are some ideas that we could do? What are going to be the DAOs of next season? So any type of worker producer cooperative, you're going to want to be in a DAO. Any type of credit union, you can basically be doing a DAO managed DeFi lending platform. Artist collective, if you're making textiles, jewelry, paintings, and having a marketplace to buy and sell your goods and services. Community land trusts, ecosystem restoration funds. Smart sensor Oracle network, so we're actually getting like real-time information that you can start running applications on. So oracles are kind of another thing that hasn't, we kind of hit a roadblock in like 2017, 2018 where like a lot of the bigger ideas couldn't be implemented because it was just too technically challenging. So the Oracle problem I think is going to be solved sooner than later. And Oracle is basically just pulling information. Traditionally it's been like price feeds for different crypto, so that you can be running your leverage trades on DeFi or whatever. But eventually we'll get to like air quality or like is this parking space open or like is the laundry finished? But you're line drying in the future. No footprint. Okay, so yeah, I think the next step is just to like join a DAO. There's a lot of DAOs out there. You can find one you like. I would say join a DAO before starting a DAO. You can join ETH PR DAO. We have a meetup group, meetup.com/ETH Puerto Rico. So we do events, education, and also just kind of have a nice little group to talk about all the crazy things that happen in crypto land and how we are gonna mutually thrive here on the island. So that's all I have to say about DAOs right now. So thank you for listening, and we can open up to Q&A. In the front, yes.
What is the main benefit of joining a DAO?
I think it's mostly community, and also getting to do something that you find interesting, and then hopefully you're getting some type of like compensation out of it. So if you're really passionate about, there was Dune. There's a DAO that tried to buy the Dune, like one copy of like the Dune book, and I'm not. Yeah, don't join that DAO. I'm sorry. That was a. Did anybody see the Dune DAO? Wait, who saw it? Oh no. Okay, yeah. I mean, join a DAO if you want to.
Do you have the presentation available on Monday? Review it again?
Yeah, I'll send this presentation to Kenny. So if you're in the WhatsApp group or anything, yeah, we'll get it to you.
Are there some DAOs that you know of in which you can't get the token unless you contribute?
Okay, so that's a good question. Are there DAOs where you can get the token if you don't contribute?
Whereas you can't get the token unless you do contribute.
Okay, so you can only get the token if you contribute to a DAO. Yes, there are those. You can program that. Wait, maybe go a little bit deeper into the question because I think there's like something more to that. So you're saying if the only way you can get access to it is if you contribute or some type of governance, say, traditionally that has been you buy the token or you airdrop the token, but I think what you're getting to is you earn the token through some type of contribution. So yes, ideally most people are getting tokens through some type of work, something contributed. And besides just buying tokens, I think the majority is going to be, we already discussed kind of like the flimsiness of airdrops. So I think, yeah, that's going to be like a really important way forward is more of like the earning governance.
How do you then protect against DAO that's governed by the token, and then you have like one person or one group buying a bunch of that and then taking over the whole DAO.
Yeah.
What was the question?
So the question was, how do you prevent one person from taking over a DAO or one group? So there's a couple points. One is Sybil Resistance. So going back to the identity, Sybil Resistance is if you have one person who's managing multiple wallets pretending to be somebody else. So we saw that a lot with like airdrop farming, where if you know an airdrop is coming, you can create a bunch of wallets, use the app, and then when airdrop time comes, you have 10 different wallets that, you know, made some transactions on chain, and obviously that's not ideal. So you want to design, it's into the design of the DAO. So getting a broader distribution, setting your voting parameters a certain way. There's a couple different mechanisms to prevent kind of like hostile takeover. One of them is something called like a cooldown period. So even after voting happens, there's like maybe a 24, 48 hour period where if like any red flags pop up, you can still kind of like pull like a community break. So you know, if there's hostile crypto takeovers that happen all the time, it's just what the fallout is a little messier. Or if it's like, oh, we got to fork the DAO, we got to fork Ethereum. So the community will persist. It'll just be in a different shape and form, but the spirit lives on. And I think you had a question up here, sir?
You talk about Olympus Dow? Like version 1, version 2 Olympus Dow?
I mean, version infinity. I think Olympus Dow has got like, I think the best thing they have going for them is like a sense of experimentation and like break it and it makes it stronger.
Okay. So it's 1200 now, it's 129.
Yes, but they have like a rebasing thing, so your ohms kind of fluctuate as well. But what I think is cool about Olympus Dow is that we could take the model and let's say we want to do a island-wide decentralized energy grid. So what ohm, and it's like nice, it's convenient because it's like already ohm, which measures resistance, but we could actually be staking solar panels, and the reserve supply is actually how much battery capacity we have. So you're staking and bonding. So you're staking your collection and production capacity, and you're also bonding, and you're creating a treasury that can then be used to finance more panel installation, more grid capacity. So that's one interesting. I mean, that's even more far-fetched than what those guys are even thinking about.
On what you just said there about the solar panels, I'm trying to really grasp what you're actually, when you say staking, you're saying staking a solar panel, putting one up and providing that to...
You could be creating some type of financial guarantee. So I think staking is like security. So you're securing that panel is online maybe, or that panel is going to be producing. Because if you don't produce, then your staking could get slashed. But I also wanted to say, back to the Oracle problem, that solar panels, I think, will need to have some sensing solution to be connected to on-chain utilities.
I asked that question because, like, the real-world example of what the DAO and all the information and how it's set up means, I'm just trying to get a hold of.
The harder you try to grasp, the more it will escape you. No, I mean, just when you think you got things pinned down, it's whoop. But I think, yeah, that's why it's cool to like, DAOs are not about you or me, it's about us, because now we're like sharing common resources, which, you know, basically is a treasury, or it's like some access to like an application or a protocol. So if we did want to do a decentralized local microgrid, this DAO is a really good framework to basically be setting out incentives, and you want to have, you know, frameworks for participation. So going back to the commons, governing the commons, that's like what DAOs are helping us to do. This is, we're transitioning, we're transcending the duality of you and I, and we are becoming one with the DAO. So, and that's going to be our challenge, yes, in the back.
Tether has a system, a platform, blockchain has a system that you vote governance, and it can also execute, methods and whatnot based on that. Have you heard anything based on those platforms?
Did you mention Telos?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Telos is interesting. They're like an EOS fork. So yeah, I think it's interesting. It's good to talk about kind of like block production, because you want to have a lot of validators, or at least you want to have enough validators, and you want to have it decentralized enough. So yes, Telos is a good platform to be running DAOs for that ecosystem if that's where your community is. The challenge is how much can your DAO interact with other services outside of the Telos ecosystem. That's going to be the challenge. So if your community and if your services are in the Telos blockchain, that's good. However, in the future, every blockchain is going to be able to talk to every other blockchain. So we're in a multi-chain universe, and you could have your own app-specific chain, and you can have a DAO manage the chain, and so there's a little bit more incentive alignment because you don't want to be running your DAO and then the blockchain that's running it goes offline. How are we feeling? Yeah.
Are you making a lot of money in DAOs?
I don't think I'm making money, but I don't think I'm losing money either. So, no, I take that back. Because I use DeFi and other Web3 services, I have received airdrops, which count as income. So I'm gonna have to pay taxes on the airdrop income. So maybe I did lose money. I don't know. No.
What's your game plan?
Okay, yes. So you're asking, can DAOs make you money? Is that what you're saying? Can you survive on DAOs alone? Yes, the answer is yes. There's a guy, Felipe Duarte, who you can find him on I mean, yes. It's kind of like, it reminds me of that documentary like back in the day where it's like the one guy's living on Bitcoin like in 2013. Anybody see that documentary? The game plan here is that we have better systems for organizing and coordinating. So yeah, I think the DAOs are definitely going to be very impactful, and there's going to be a lot of liquidity running through DAOs. Your value of your DAO is dependent on the individual contributors and what good and service you're providing. So it's like, are you going to make money selling, whatever it is that you're selling or making, or just maybe you're a DAO for just community purpose, just to like hang out. So it doesn't necessarily have to be making money, but it has to have a life force, and it has to have a circulation of its internal regulating crypto economic ecosystem. So it depends. Yes.
So when you talk about the future of DAOs, do you think this will be a hybridization of some political parties, that they'll give up some decision making to DAOs, and that they'll step away from that kind of stuff? These groups will be empowered, or
yeah. Well, I think the disempowered are now getting empowered versus are the already powerful going to be taking DAO integration. I think it's going to be the other way around, where now you have a coordination tool that we didn't have before, that you can out-coordinate the competition, and it's going to be hope. I mean, I guess the hope is that we can transition to like peaceful conflict resolution through these mechanisms versus like whatever the emergency crisis fabricated, whatever it is of the moment. But no, I mean, overall, it's exciting. It's new. It's very new. It's very experimental. But I think the opportunity here is to learn, hands-on, with when the stakes are low. Yeah.
This whole concept that people are voting on issues in the DAO, and that's what makes it a DAO. People are voting on it.
Yeah. Let's just. Okay. So anybody who holds a token, a governance token, can participate in the management of both the treasury and the protocol level. So protocol is just if it's software code or if it's some parameter to the DAO itself. So let's say we want to take a vote to print more shares. So that would be a vote that the governance token holders can participate in. And it's just kind of like a traditional board of directors, but with a lot more directors, as well as a lot less friction in doing some of what traditionally was heavy legal mergers and acquisitions, or like whatever that legal department was charging. So now we're now in the time of DAO to DAO meta governance. So I'm in a DAO, and the DAO buys tokens of another DAO, and we do a token swap. So it's DAO to DAO token swap. So we now have a diversified treasury. As a DAO that's holding another DAO's tokens, could I participate in that DAO's governance, and could I somehow do some manipulation? But I think what's happening is that people are learning that cooperating is much more powerful than dog-eat-dog mentality. So if the DAOs are stronger together, then that's kind of the default incentive mechanism. But anybody here in ENS, Ethereum name service? Anybody got a .ENS? Yeah, oh yeah. Did you get that ENS airdrop?
That was a good one, though.
Yeah, well, the ENS DAO, they had some drama last week or so. But if you want to go, DAOs are really entertaining and really interesting. There's a lot of action happening, and I make no claims to knowing anything. Yes.
Can you talk more about that Felipe Duarte guy and the income and his strategy and what he's doing?
I think he was, I just know very little, like I said, next to nothing. But I think he was working in Europe, and he needed a way to earn a living without having like a work permit. And so he was working for DAOs. And people, you're on payroll, and actually the next thing is we're getting Dow Operation human resource like services. So if we want to be doing payroll for DAO, like we now have that service. So I think it's less about can you make money for a DAO. It's like what kind of life and what projects do you want to be participating in, and then if you have a wallet, like you're gonna get paid. It's just, I think it's maybe easier if I just show you. Uh-oh, Raid Guild. Where you at? It's just, do you want to get paid in XDAI is the real question. Wrapped ETH? So do you really want to accept like these, the governance tokens? Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so let's say you want a DAO, you want the full thing, you want a website, you want the DeFi integrations, you want, the branding. You can go to this DAO, which is a worker cooperative. So you can see, we could join. So it's open DAO. Let's see a portfolio. So it's nice. We need invoicing services in the DAO landscape. So these guys are building a lot of the tooling that DAOs actually need. And so it's like, I want to get paid. And by the way, if anybody's using MetaMask, Okay. Use Frame instead. No, MetaMask is cool. Is
Frame Ethereum centric or what's
Frame, you can choose from different, it's Ethereum centric, and you can choose from if you want to go to like Polygon or Mainnet or Arbitrum. So, but anyways, I could talk about DAOs for a lot longer, but the more I talk, I feel like the less I make sense. And I just want to thank the organizers again. Kenny, thank you very much. And yeah, meetup.com/ETH Puerto Rico. Cheers.
Thank you.